Are you ready to get your health back but feel overwhelmed by the endless healthcare options? We believe God has called each of us to a specific assignment, and we want to make sure your body, mind, and heart are up for the task. It's time to simplify the process of healing. At Cornerstone Integrative Healing, we offer simple, effective, easy ways to prioritize your health and gain understanding. No prescription pad needed. I'm Kari, a pharmacist turned integrative health practitioner. I'm so excited to have these conversations around topics with my friend, Jenn.
Hi there, I'm Jenn, and together with our team at Cornerstone Integrative Healing, we offer an alternative to traditional healthcare, combining our expertise and experience in the medical field with our knowledge and faith to break the cycles of guessing what's wrong. We know the road to healing, feeling good again, can be overwhelming. You can expect honest conversations around the ups and downs of healing. The truth is, there are so many layers to healing. Because we've taken the time to learn where true healing comes from, we've learned how to help other women to discover a different way of caring for themselves. Join us every week for new episodes as we discuss topics that are personal and pertinent to your healing journey. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast here. Jenn is here with my co-host, Kari, and we have Marinna, one of our practitioners, with us today. We are so excited to talk about this topic because I think it's one that is super meaningful to a lot of people. Kari can relate. And we just want to talk a little bit more about infertility today. So if this is something that you've struggled with in the past or currently, or maybe you know someone, maybe have them tune in. This is something that I know we were just talking before we started recording. For a lot of women, it becomes something that is really hard because it's an emotional thing as well as a physical thing. And, we talked about how infertility is really pointing you to something deeper physically. Like, obviously, this is, as Marinna mentioned, it's pointing you to something that might be going on in the body. And so it's deeper than just you can't conceive, right? There's more to it. There's emotional ramifications, as I mentioned, spiritual. And we're just really excited and grateful that Marinna is willing to come on and share her story because I think it's a great one. So, Marinna, take it away. Where do you want to start?
Thanks, Jenn. Yeah, I'm so blessed to be here. So excited to share. Our journey started probably like everybody else's, in that you get told by your gynecologist everything's fine, come back in a year if you haven't conceived, then we can go from there. So, we started when I was around 30 years old, so probably a little later than the average, but up until that point, I didn't have any reason to believe it wouldn't work. I had pretty regular cycles. And that's all we are told that is needed to have a child is, oh, you have regular periods, you're probably good to go. So I actually did not wait the full year. I told them we had been trying for a full year at around 6 months because I just felt in my gut something was up. And so, they do the next set of lab work. They do prolactin levels and progesterone levels and AMH and all those sorts of, more, I guess, deeper fertility labs. And ours were all normal. So we got referred to, or we were told to, pick a fertility clinic. And anyone in the Cincinnati area knows that that's Dr. Chin. So we got a consult with him. I had a procedure known as I think it's a HSG, which is where they inject dye up into the uterus and and it's supposed to flow throughout kind of highlighting the uterus, and then it flows throughout the tubes to make sure your tubes are open. And it just gives the doctor a better picture of if there's anything blocking the area. My right tube did not show up. So at that point, the gynecologist who performed the procedure said that my tube was blocked, my right tube. When I got to, so I was like, oh, that's the answer. There it is. Great. And all the while, that was a very painful procedure. So from the very start, you're inundated with you're a medical procedure. You're told that it's just a little discomfort, just a little cramping. I've learned from there that is not true at all. It's way more painful than they ever tell you. So again, you're already inundated with like a medical disbelief. You're already kind of lied to right off the bat. So it creates just like this distrust and this uncomfortable situation, mentally and physically. So we take that, that disc that shows the procedure to the fertility lab. And he said, I don't believe that your tube is closed, because at the very end of the slides, it actually started to accept the dye. So he's like, it probably just spasmed and it didn't allow the dye to flow through. So I was like, okay. So again, you're getting conflicting beliefs, you're getting conflicting answers. And this is all, I thought this was just me and my experience. Everyone goes through these just unfortunate circumstances. So then I was told, well, you probably have endometriosis. You have to have laparoscopic surgery. Okay, sign me up. There was no thought, there was no stepping back and like thinking, well, what is endometriosis? What does that mean? What causes that? And I know they don't have a lot of information about that, but there are things out there that can kind of point you in directions. But no, for me, it was okay. Let's get it on the books. Next cycle, I'm good to go. So, I did that. It was confirmed I had stage 2 endometriosis with what I call like a kitchen sink of stuff. I had polyps, fibroids, all the things, cysts, at 32 years old. And at that time, I gave no thought as to why I had those things. It was, I'm unlucky. I must be just this unlucky person. Had no ideas surrounding that. So we continued on the normal paths. We did artificial insemination, also known as IUI. We did that twice, failed both times. He said I'm probably not a good candidate to try again because I developed cysts from the medications. So then I said, well, what's next? And he said, well, IVF is next if you want to go that route. And he's like, I don't know if you're necessarily there. Nope, let's do it. So sign me up. I was just like all gung-ho into these things. I never gave any thought, or I never looked to the Lord for answers. I never sat down with him and asked him, what's going on here? Like, talk it out with me. There was never any of that. It was full on conventional medical procedures because I wanted it as quickly as possible. Like you said, we want that instant gratification. It's just part of our culture. And unfortunately for us, those things did not work. So that's when things, when I started to do things a little differently.
But before you tried all those procedures, or even in the midst, had you, you're obviously classically trained as a pharmacist. Had you been exposed to integrative or functional medicine before? Had you had an interest? Or it was just at that point you were still, it was mostly, your experience had been with mostly mainstream?
So at that point, it was mostly mainstream. I hadn't even heard the term functional medicine.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know exactly the point that changed, but I remember looking up at at the end of like one of our IVF cycles, I looked into endometriosis, and a study from Europe came up, and they related it to like nickel allergies and avoiding gluten and zinc deficiency. And I was like, wait a second.
What's this?
I have nickel allergy. Like, that's interesting. And I started looking more into the diet side, because that's when you search things, usually, gluten and dairy comes up as like the first things. So, then Google leads you down like functional medicine. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if there's any functional medicine doctors in Cincinnati. And I asked my primary care doctor, because she had known we've been trying for, this was probably 4 years at this point. And she recommended a really good group that she refers patients to a lot, a functional medicine group. And so I sat down with them and one of their nutritionists. And this is the point, I think, where everything literally changed, is she looked at my labs. She looked at my lipid panel, and she's like, your cholesterol is way too low. And I'm like, what? My cholesterol's too low? That I've never heard of such a thing. I mean, in pharmacy school, it was like, get it the lowest it can be. I'm sure Kari can relate to that. Like, get the low, the better. Like, that's,
yeah.
And that is literally the moment in time where everything changed. My whole outlook changed, and I just dove into researching and changing who I follow on Instagram. That's how I found Kari. Like, that was the moment. Just that simple thing that she said about my cholesterol levels and how you need cholesterol to make your hormones, and seeing that I had no hormones, like, very much related. So yeah, that was 4 years in.
Sounds like a God moment.
It's crazy how one thing can make you start second guessing everything.
Everything.
It's like, gosh, did everything I learned? Is it all backwards or no?
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure. So I'm thinking, okay, now from this standpoint, like looking back, I know obviously you can't go back and do things differently. Obviously you can only move forward, but what if somebody is sort of at the beginning of their fertility journey, what advice would you have for them? Like, knowing what you know now. You're like, where do I start?
Yeah, exactly. Anything is a sign, right? And some of those smaller signs we have, like, oh, I have hypothyroid, so I'm on levothyroxine, or oh, I'm really fatigued in the afternoon, or I've just gained all this weight and I haven't changed any of my eating patterns. I have acne, which was a big sign for me. At the time, I didn't put those two together, but I had severe inflammatory acne all over. Sometimes we don't relate those things to fertility, but they are related. So the whole body is connected. And I wish that someone at my OB office, or even at the fertility office, they never really asked about anything environmental, nutrition. They didn't even ask me about my diet. I mean, it just seems ridiculous. Wow. And those were all signs to me that my body was out of balance. And I part of my mindset with this is, we say it's infertility, but true infertility is you literally cannot conceive. Like, you don't have a uterus, or you don't have ovaries, or you have some physical blockage. So in my mind, I say I'm just it's an imbalance right now. I'm not infertile. It's part of like a mindset thing that I've adopted, because telling yourself you're infertile is not good. But so I've utilized kind of that. So first, just setting your mind that, you are not infertile unless, there's those very rare occurrences. And that anything can be adjusted. And I'm not going to say fixed, because I don't like that word, but like, anything can be corrected. I truly believe that with the right support, the right people in your corner. And I just want people to know that these diagnoses and these conditions and these labs only tell a very small part of the picture of who you are and what your body is capable of. And so, yeah, there's always another answer. You don't have to go the conventional route. You don't have to jump into hormonal injections and tens of thousands of dollars. Sit with it. I mean, really take your time, and there's a balance of too much information. And we'll have a show about that as well, but doing your own work and looking into these conditions and partnering up with someone who's gone through this that can help guide you, little ways, little changes in your life that you can make a big difference. And I wish I knew all of that prior to just saying, you're infertile. Without this conventional treatment, you're never going to conceive. Our percentage chance to conceive was 2%, according to our fertility doctor. But it's 2%. So I hope that answers.
Yeah, definitely. I was just thinking about my own journey with just, struggling to conceive and how much for me it was really just a control factor. I really think it was just totally God's timing that I needed to wait on. And part of that was releasing my own timeline. I just wonder how, because I remember when we first met, and yeah, you changed a lot since then. I know that, God's just really been working on your heart and your mind and all the things. So you want to share a little bit about that, maybe?
Yeah, for sure. We unfortunately, like we said before, we're in a culture of instant gratification, and I want it, so I should have it. I'm a good person. I have a good job. I have a husband. We're happily married. We should have this. This is our right. When in actuality, there's no one that promised you a baby. I mean, that's not a promise that you're given. And you have to, and I don't say that to be rude or inconsiderate, but no one, that is not a right that you have. And so you have to release, like you said, you have to release that control and that expectation. Because it's not your God-given right, unfortunately. We all have different life experiences that take us different ways for different things. But my mindset was very much, I deserve this. Like, this needs to happen, and it needs to happen as quickly as possible. I'm in my 30s. And that's the other thing that they try to fear you into doing these procedures maybe before you're ready because of the age. Because we're told as soon as we hit 35 that our eggs fly out of our body and they're no longer able to do anything. And it's just simply not true. My fertility labs have improved over the years. So it's just funny, like, we have to take everything that they say with a grain of salt, and we have to see things for what they are. And sometimes there's money involved, and sometimes there's pharmaceuticals involved, and we have to make that judgment for ourselves. And I started just seeing that there's a very ugly side to this business, and it is a business. It's where people make a lot of money. And that's fine if they utilize that money to make families for people, and they make people happy, and they give gifts to the world. I'm not saying it's not. But for me, that adjustment came where I could no longer, I was no longer kind of just bought into that. I had to I had to be on my own timeline, and really not my timeline, God's timeline. And I had to sit with what he was telling me to do. And it was just to step back. And I think Kari has told me this so many times, letting it go. um,
Have you reached that? I mean, this is probably a personal question, but have you reached that? And if so, maybe for those people listening, is there something specific that helped you let it go? And tell us through the physical, maybe walk us through the physical, like as you improved physically, you got healthier, your husband got healthier, maybe, that was a piece of it too. Yeah, however you want to.
yeah, yeah. Um, the physical, it was, I think everything changed when I started working with Cornerstone. I'm not just saying that. I think, sorry, I think that is where my life changed.
Mhm. Praise God.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was calling
Is
you to something else.
having
Yeah.
people guided by God.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
Um, but having, we always talk about connection, and I was missing so much of that. You're connected with people in support groups, but it's always wallowing in anger and frustration.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it was, there was nothing about, well, what's going good in your life now? And I had to step back and be like, my life is amazing. I have this wonderful husband. I'm working with this beautiful person named Kari.
We can't leave out Amanda. She was really a big part.
Oh my goodness, yes. Working with her was life-changing. So that's when everything shifted, and I started being in the Word. I started doing devotionals. I felt like just this lift of pressure. I started doing just talk therapy, and really that was more focused on like the medical trauma that I had gone through in the past 5 years of just being told so many negative things. And so it was mental, right? It was way more mental change than it was a physical. Um, and me and my husband just we made a promise to each other that this is our life. We have to have gratitude for what we have. Um,
That's beautiful.
I stepped away from, my conventional full-time pharmacist role. All of these things happen, and then all these doors, God opened all these doors for me. And with coming on board with you and just being able to work with my friend and landscaping and being outside and being in the dirt, being a kid again, that play that we are missing as adults. All of that is mindset. And so, yeah, it was working with Cornerstone that I think just set the tone. And then just having that connection piece with all of you, a sense of community, somewhere I can go to feel safe. That's what changed my mind. I unfollowed a lot of the people I used to follow on Instagram related to fertility because it became all about, they were capitalizing, they were getting money on my anger, on my grief. And it felt icky to me. It didn't feel enlightening anymore. I mean, you had these women that had 3, 4, 5 kids from IVF, and they're still wallowing and selling things and saying that they're the same as me. And it was just, it was very it became like a toxic environment. So I, unfollowed a lot of people and started following just more holistic people, Christian based, just happy things. And it really does change you. It changes. And I don't, it's not like that I regret where we came from, because we had to go through that to get here. So don't over regret what you've done, or if you haven't done, or what have you. There's always a reason for where you are.
Yeah. Sometimes it really does take somebody else that's, a third party that can, we can't see the forest for the trees. Right. We're so in where we're in, and we walk that road, and we're just, we're going to keep walking it. But you need somebody to kind of gently guide you, get you back on the right path, on God's path. So, we just encourage you to seek godly counsel, whether that's a trusted friend, somebody at your church, or maybe it is a holistic practitioner if you want to, to seek guidance that way. But that's why we need community. We're not supposed to walk this alone. And sometimes, like you said, you were seeking community, but it was maybe not the best community for you where you were at in a way. So I think realizing that is an important shift, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
Just making that connection that our body is whole, and it's all connected to each other, and all of these things were signs that that I had traumas built up and emotional repression, and I was constantly, as a Virgo, I'm always worried, in fear, and going through those conventional treatments, they capitalize on that. They 100% cause it to grow more. I mean, it is, and that's what was happening. And I had to make the decision. It's a choice. You can choose to stay in that, or you can choose to step away. It's not easy not doing, some form of treatment. For the past, now it's been 2.5 years, we have done literally nothing fertility wise. But we have, we have. That's the thing. We have. So, with mindset and working on our marriage and enjoying life and being fulfilled in my role here, all of those things are healing. So just wanting people to know that there are other ways to heal, and conventional fertility treatment, it's more of like a Band-Aid. It's kind of covering up what's way below, what's really underneath, because, having your eggs taken out, making a baby outside and putting them back in, that's not fixing what the imbalance is in my body. It's not. It's helping it be covered up for the time being so I can get my child.
I think it's a good point to just consider, is that, and this is definitely how I feel. I was just so focused on getting pregnant. I never thought about after, or even having the baby, or even nothing after, right? It's just, you're so focused on that one thing. And yeah, like if there's an imbalance and you don't necessarily, address it, then, you want your body to be in a good position to carry a baby, to recover from carrying a baby. It's just, that's really important, because we want to be there in all the ways for our kids, and of course still our husband. And it's just a lot more to consider rather than just carrying a baby. So, sometimes it's just so hard to get focused on the one thing. It's just like, even if it's not fertility, maybe it's just one issue that you really struggle with that you want fixed. We just get super focused on it and not in the future.
Yeah, exactly. And, there are plenty of instances in my personal life where they either got pregnant easily, or they had maybe some troubles and then eventually got pregnant again, or but then there were issues that came afterwards that presented. And just because they're not issues with your ovary and your uterus doesn't mean that it's not related. So just stepping outside and seeing that bigger picture. I don't want to have medical issues after the fact. Like, this was enough for me for a lifetime. I want to be the healthiest I can be. And I want my child to have the best shot at being healthy also. And changing that mentality, seeing that bigger picture has allowed me to safely step away. And I mean, I can't say with 100% certainty, but 90% certainty that we will not go back. Just because it's just not, it's not aligned, anymore with what I want and my values of where I am right now. So
this is just great. Thank you so much for sharing your heart. I know it's, I know you said you're an open book, and we're so thankful for that. But then again, it's just not easy sometimes talking about these things. But I think it is healing for us to talk about it, talk about our struggles and our, just what a testimony though, of how God has worked in your life.
Yeah.
Amen. Wow.
Your faith, surrender, Marinna, is inspiring to me, because that it's hard. It's really, really, I mean, I haven't been there, but I can only sympathize. Like, letting go to something like that is something only God could facilitate. And your trust is awe-inspiring. Thanks, Marinna.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we hope this was encouraging. We want you to be pointed to the Lord. He's our rock and our firm foundation always. And just take heart and know that, like, He has good plans for all of us, and they're all different, right? And we all have to surrender to what we would like in some way, shape, or form. There are bigger things and there are smaller things, but yeah, He's got the best plans for us in store, and it's always better for everybody if we surrender to that. So we hope we've encouraged you to do that today. And if you would, have questions, comments, you need prayer, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We would love to pray for you or answer any questions that you have maybe on something that we mentioned here. So thanks again, Marinna, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
If this episode has served you in any way, drop a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd love it if you share any aha moments or takeaways on Instagram and tag us at Cornerstone Integrative Healing.
And if you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do so. We want to continue to walk this journey with you. Until next time, friends, know that we are praying for you.